There were two fiancés with only 1 week left until their wedding. The young man loved his fiancée very much and dreamed of the day God would unite them in one home. 2 days before the wedding, the young man felt severe pain in his right kidney. He went to the doctor with his father, underwent some tests, and it was revealed that he had appendicitis and needed surgery. The young man's father asked the doctor, "My son's wedding is in just 2 days. Can we postpone the surgery until after the wedding?" The doctor replied, "All right, we will postpone the surgery for 3 days. After the wedding, he must come and have the operation, as any delay is dangerous to his life." The young man intervened and said, "We will have the surgery and postpone the wedding for a week." His father said angrily, "We have arranged everything. The guests have been invited. The wedding hall is booked." The father tried to convince his son in every way, but the young man flatly refused and postponed the wedding. When his fiancée learned of this, she said to him, "You dreamed of the day we would marry, and you counted the days for it to come as quickly as possible." His fiancée pressured him a lot to reconsider his decision, but the young man insisted on postponing the wedding. The young man underwent the surgery, and fate willed that the operation would take place on the originally scheduled wedding day. During the surgery, his appendix burst, and the young man suffered from sepsis and died during the operation. Instead of being a groom to his beloved, God chose him to be a groom for paradise. After the mourning period ended, the doctor gave his fiancée a letter and told her, "Your fiancé gave me this letter before the operation and told me to give it to you if anything happened to him." The girl took the letter and found a message inside that read, "My dearest, my greatest hope in life was for God to unite us in one home, but forgive me, I was afraid that I would pass away a few days after our marriage and leave you a widow in the prime of your youth, and I was afraid that I would leave behind an orphan son in this world who would never see his father and live all his days without me. Until we meet again, I pray to God that He reunites us in paradise. I love you."
This is a true story that took place in a metro station in Italy. It tells of a young Egyptian man who rode the metro to go to university. The young man sat in a seat and took a book out of his bag to read. As the young man was engrossed in his reading, a thin man, about 60 years old, approached him and placed his hands on the young man's shoulder, saying, "Have some rusks." The young man replied, "Thank you, uncle." After that, the man offered the rusks to all the passengers. Some took them, while others thanked him for his generosity and kindness. The young man continued reading, but the image of the man stayed in his mind. How could a simple man like him, wearing shabby clothes and torn shoes, a man whose face showed signs of tiredness and exhaustion, and who was clearly poor, how could a man in his circumstances and condition offer food to people? Some time passed, and a small child, about 15 years old, entered the metro to sell newspapers. The child called out loudly, "Read the latest news!" But no one bought from him. Before he got off the metro, the poor man who had been distributing rusks called out to him and said, "I want a newspaper with the latest news from the Italian League." The child, "This newspaper has the league standings and news of the players and clubs." The man, "How much is the newspaper?" The child, "Only £3. The poor man took out £3 and gave them to the child. After the child got off at the metro station, the man asked the student, "What's written in the picture?" The student was very surprised and asked him, "You can't read, sir?" The man, "Unfortunately, I cannot read or write." The young man, "Why did you buy the newspaper if you can't read?" The man, because the child was going around selling newspapers in this cold weather, and no one bought from him. So I bought a newspaper so as not to break his spirit." This is the story of a simple man who felt mercy and compassion for others despite the harshness of his own life. A man with great inner peace despite the troubling circumstances surrounding him.
Long ago, there was a clever emperor in Japan. Before any battle, he would toss a coin and tell his soldiers, "If the coin lands on heads, we will win the battle. If it lands on tails, we will lose." The coin always landed on heads, and the soldiers would become enthusiastic and fight bravely until victory. Many years passed, and this king never lost any battle he fought. As he grew older, he asked his son to prepare to rule the kingdom in his place. The son prepared well, and before taking over the rule, he asked his father to give him the coin he used to toss before every battle. The father gave him the coin. The son took the coin and found it had a heads on one side, and when he looked at the other side, he also found a heads, not tails. The son was greatly shocked and said to his father, "You were deceiving the soldiers and the people all these years. Why did you do this, father? You are a deceptive hero." The emperor replied, "My son, I did not deceive anyone. All I did was plant the spirit of victory and hope in their hearts. I gave them only two choices. The first choice was victory, and the second was also victory. Defeat happens if you think about it, and victory is achieved if you trust in it."
One morning, a fishmonger went to a village and shouted at the top of his voice, "Fresh fish!" The villagers woke up to his call and decided to buy from him and start their day with a delicious meal. The residents rushed to buy fish, but they were surprised by its high price, so no one bought any because they didn't have enough money. Several hours passed, and the vendor hadn't sold a single fish, so he decided to leave the village and sell in another. But before he left, a luxurious car arrived and stopped in front of the vendor. A wealthy man stepped out and told the vendor, "I will buy all this fish from you for more than its price, on the condition that you distribute it to all the villagers." The vendor agreed and took the price of the fish from the rich man. He went to all the villagers and announced, "Fresh fish for free." The man toured all over the village, proclaiming that the fish was free. The residents came out of their homes. A woman said, "The fish must have spoiled in the heat, and he wants to give it to us." A man said, "There's nothing free in this world. Go away from here." And so the residents treated the vendor in this bad way. The man continued to roam every alley of the village until a poor man with his wife and children approached and asked the vendor, "I don't have money to buy fish, so what's the exchange for giving us some fresh fish?" The vendor replied, "The fish is for you and your family, free of charge, with no exchange." After that, the vendor gave the poor man a large quantity of fish. The poor man thanked him greatly. The vendor told him, "Don't thank me, my brother. Instead, go and thank that rich man standing over there next to his car. He's the one who paid for the fish and asked me to distribute it to all the villagers." The poor man went with his wife and children and thanked the rich man profusely for his generosity. After that, every poor and needy person went to the fishmonger and took their share, while the people who didn't believe the fish was free greatly regretted losing a delicious free fish meal.
One day, an aeroplane took off on a long journey. The pilot was a skilled one, but half an hour after takeoff, he issued an alert to the passengers to fasten their seatbelts due to an engine malfunction caused by thunder and lightning. The plane lost its balance and swayed in the air. All the passengers felt fear and turmoil. The flight attendant gave instructions and warnings to all passengers in multiple languages to maintain calm. There was an elderly man on the plane who did not feel fear like the other passengers. He looked at the faces of the passengers and saw fear and terror in their eyes. He noticed that all the passengers were afraid except for a small girl who was reading a book. When the plane descended and swayed in the air, the girl would close her eyes for a few seconds, then open them again to continue reading. The man was amazed by the girl's courage and inner peace, especially since she was alone without her mother and father. The man got up from his seat amidst the tense atmosphere and went to sit beside the girl. He eagerly asked her, "Why aren't you afraid, my daughter? All the passengers are screaming in fear, but you haven't moved from your spot and haven't made a sound, as if nothing happened on the plane." The girl said, "I don't feel afraid because my father is the pilot, and I am sure he will get me to safety." A few minutes after the conversation ended, the skilled pilot managed to land the plane on one of the islands. With this emergency landing, the pilot saved his daughter and all the passengers. The 1976 Summer Olympics were held in Montreal, Canada, and Japanese gymnast Shun Fujimoto was competing. However, a week before the final competition, he suffered a fractured knee. The Japanese people felt great sadness because they had placed all their hopes on this athlete, confident that he would bring them a gold medal. But after his knee injury, they lost hope of winning the gold. The Japanese athlete made a decision that he would play in the final competition and would not withdraw, no matter the cost. His coach advised him repeatedly to withdraw because his injury was severe, but he refused. He reassured the nation and declared that he would bring them the gold medal in gymnastics. A week later, Shun took to the field, and everyone present was amazed because he had bound his fractured knee with 3 compression bandages. Everyone wondered how a player with a broken knee could compete in the Olympic final. The competition ended, and the Japanese athlete was asked in an interview, "Did your knee hurt during the match?" He replied, "Yes, my knee hurt as if someone was stabbing me with a knife, but I endured the pain, and after I won the gold medal, the pain flew away." The moral of the story: determination, strong will, and persistence in achieving a goal can overcome difficulties and obstacles, including physical pain, ultimately leading to success.